Hello everyone, and welcome back. We are back tonight with more of the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Last time we learned that there was actually a that the two burglars that broke into the pawnbrokery actually had an accomplice with them, and that person could have been the one responsible for the responsible for the third bullet that we learned was at the scene of the crime when we found it in Herlock's when we found it in with some of Herlock's vials of chemicals. Anyway, so now that we've discovered that, we've actually had and we also managed to point out who this person was, and that was actually thanks to one of the jurors who recognized the man from a photo that we posted, that we shared with the court. Or that was shared with the court, rather. So let's go ahead and get started and see what we learned today. Hey Luna, hi Soup, how you doing tonight? Welcome to the stream. I saw on stream that you download Stardew. Yeah, I'm gonna give it a try. Like I said, probably either later tonight or tomorrow. I hope you enjoy it. Yeah, me too. I was a little hesitant to get it because I was like, I've been burned by Harvest Moon before because I wasn't good with the time management. But I thought, if I don't like it, all I'll lose is a few hours of my time, so no big deal. Anyway, April 17th, 12:41 p.m., the Old Bailey, Defendant's Antechamber. Gina, how are you holding up? Okay. I'm starting to feel quite warmly towards her frequent cold shoulders now.
Jenny! Are you alright? Why aren't you saying anything?
What's the point, eh? Well, there are a few things you can do to make life easier for yourself in Stardew. I could probably send you some tips on Discord later. Sounds good. Why got all this trouble and fight so hard for the likes of me?
What?
Well, you saw it. That picture. What picture?
Ah, you mean this? The photograph taken by Hurley's red-handed recorder. Well, I didn't think it would have captured a scene like this, that's for sure.
It's hopeless. Anyone who sees that's gonna think I did it, ain't they? Probably, but you can still tell us what actually happened. Well, I won't pretend it wasn't a bit of a shock when the prosecution first presented it to the court.
Surely you've got to have your doubts about me now. You can't still think I'm innocent.
Of course I can.
Humph. Jenny, why don't you talk to us? Tell us what really happened that night.
Eh?
cleaners cleverly managed to piece together a lot of new information, but still, we'd really like to hear it from you. Alright then. It was after we had that dinner together at your place, right, Iris? Then we all had a chat up in your office, didn't we?
Yes, I remember.
After that, I just couldn't get to sleep. So I slipped out and went down to the street to the 2-to-1 to Winterbig's place. I had to know.
If Iris' story was there or not, down to the Baskervilles.
I don't know what it's about or nothing. But if you ask me, there's something in it that Sholmes don't like. Something what he don't want people reading. So that's why I lied to Iris about sticking it in lug with Winterbank for safekeeping. At least, that's what I thought at the time.
So you broke into Windybank's?
I just had to know whether it was there or not. I mean, I had no idea all of that was gonna kick off, did I? I shut the lock and stuck inside. It was dark as you like in there. So I get the oil lamp on the counter a bit of wick, and that's when...
What do you think you're doing? Ah!
I nearly died, I did. And next thing I knew...
Ow.
I'd grabbed the gun off the counter and was aiming at the air like, I don't know what.
Oh, you're the girl who was in here this afternoon. I didn't think pickpockets went in for armed robbery.
The manuscript. Have you got it here? Did Sholmes leave a load of papers with you? A story?
I beg your pardon?
The hand of the something or other. If it's here, I want to see it.
I'm sorry, young lady. But I'd sooner die than relinquish an article belonging to one of my customers.
I don't want it. What would I want with it anyway? I just want to see it's here, that's all.
Oh, you want to see it, do you?
I want to know if Sholmes really pawned it here or not. Please, just let me see it and I'll go.
Oh, very well then. But for pity's sake, stop waving my gun around, would you?
So then the old cove unlocked the storeroom door and we both went inside. And it was there alright, the manuscript. Sholmes wasn't worth lying after all. You did all that just to check for me, Jenny? Anyway, then there was a bit of a kick-up out in the main bit of the shop.
The Skulkin brothers arriving on the scene, yes.
What is that noise? Someone's breaking in!
Dear me, is there some burglars convention here tonight that I don't know about?
I think I forgot to shut the door behind me. Sorry.
I'd better go and take care of it. Could I possibly have my gun back?
Oh, well, I'll come with you and...
Now don't be foolish, young girl. You must stay right here. Don't leave this room under any circumstances.
And with that, he took the gun out of my hands and walked back out into the shop. I hung back in the storeroom like he said, straining my ears in the dark to hear what was going on. It sounded like they got into a bit of a scrap. I started to think I should help, see. So I was just about to go out the storeroom myself when... I heard a couple of shots go off. Two, I think. Almost at the same time. And then there he was, right at my feet, lying face down on the floor. I was right next to the storeroom door, so I slammed it shut and locked it as quick as you like.
Because you thought whoever had shot Mr. Windybank might come for you?
Yeah, so I went to grab the old Cole's gun. I figured I'd put up a fight at least. But when I got a better look at him, I knew. Windybank was a goner. I felt funny in me head all of a sudden, kinda dizzy. And after that, I don't remember nothing.
So that's why she was passed out on the floor. That must be when you passed out, Gina.
If I hadn't done what I'd done, the old cove might still be alive.
Did you tell the police everything you just told us?
Of course I did, but they didn't believe a word of it, did they? All they said was if I kept telling lies, it'd make things even worse for me. It'll be alright, Jenny. Don't worry. Just stay strong a little longer. Bruno's about to put the real culprit through the mill. That cove what was there in the afternoon? That Eggert Benedict? I still remember how he looked at me like I was nothing. He was there that night.
Oh, did she actually see him? We don't know his real name yet. Or is she just going off the reports we just... Or the... Well, anyway. I'm convinced that he's involved somehow. Anyway, thank you for telling us what happened, Gina. I appreciate your honesty.
You what? You can leave it all in Reno's capable hands now, Jenny. Mr. Naraoto.
Oh, maybe she'll get it right one of these days. Oh well. Yes?
How come you trust me? I don't get it. I mean, have you forgotten what happened to you before? Come on, it is only 2 months ago. Me and Miguel did. We told you a whole pack of lies. And you got the bug cutter off with him, even though he was a killer.
No, I could never forget that.
Oh.
I did what I thought was best at the time. But the pain of that error of judgment doesn't get any easier to bear. Still, don't forget that I also made you a promise. I told you that I'd be on your side to the bitter end, no matter what.
But what if I'm lying? You could be working to get another killer off the hook for all you know.
Yeah, but seeing as you're the killer on trial... Anyway. I was once in your position, Gina. I was the accused in the trial.
You were?
Before I left Japan, I was accused of murder. And strange as it might sound, the circumstances of the crime were pretty damning. I was sure that no one would believe it wasn't me who'd done it.
Oh, Bruno.
But there was one person who stood up for me, who believed in me, and was prepared to defend me. My best friend. Renosuke, no one believes in you more than I do. Leave this to me. All you need to do is put your faith in me, and I'll do the rest. I was so happy I cried. But even then, somewhere inside me, I couldn't help thinking, surely he doesn't really believe in me. Not completely. But I was wrong. As soon as my trial began, it was obvious that he had an absolute, unwavering belief in me. And in turn, I developed an absolute, unwavering belief in him. Since then, I came to realize, if you want something to believe in, if you want someone to believe in you, you have to believe in the other person first.
What are you saying?
I promise you, Gina, that no matter what happens, I'll keep believing in you. So you don't need to worry. I won't let you down.
Even though I'm a diver and a no-good liar?
You're not like McGilded, I know that.
Eh? That's right, you're a friend, Jenny. Iris!
We know you better than you think. And we've come to the conclusion that you're someone we can trust.
Yes.
That's really all we need to know.
Exactly. Mr. Naruto, I...
Aww. Defendant Gina Lestrade and her legal representative. Court proceedings are about to resume. Please head into the courtroom immediately.
Okay, I'll be right back. Just need to do something real quick.
Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. Yes, of course. Thank you. I'd been both a defendant and a defending lawyer in my time, so I knew only too well just how hard it was to put all your faith in another. And I also knew just how hard it was to bear the burden of another putting all their faith in you. This is it at last. The final chapter. The final battle. Wish me luck, Susato-san. And I hope you're watching over me too, partner. April 17th, 1:41 p.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. I hereby call this court to order as we resume the trial of Miss Gina Lestrade. Lord Von Zeeks, have you successfully subpoenaed the witness? The subpoena was delivered to the communication station, where the man works immediately, my lord. However, the heavy rain has delayed the arrival of his carriage, it would seem. I see. Then let us turn our attention to Inspector Gregson's presence of the case heard by the court this morning. The glaring omission of the third bullet in your report is a serious blunder, Inspector. Yes, I can only apologize, my lord. And although the defense's chemical analysis of the blood at the scene makes for a compelling argument, I cannot permit such untried methods to be used as evidence in my courtroom.
Humph! It's a big mistake to cross Harry and me. A very big mistake.
My lord, the subpoenaed witness has just arrived in the building. Thank you, officer. Show him to the stand without delay. Mr. Egbert Benedict. I didn't expect to be crossing paths with him again so soon, and certainly not like this. Thank you for complying with the court's subpoena at such short notice, sir. But of course, my lord, as an upstanding member of London society, it is my pleasure to oblige. Now, kindly state your name and occupation for the record. Ashley Graydon, Communications Officer. Okay, so we finally know his real name now.
Mr. Graydon and I both work at London Central Communications Station.
Now, perhaps somebody would kindly explain what all this is about. You were apprised of the situation by the court officer on your way here, I presume. Yes, I was. Something to do with a murder that took place at a pawnbroker's on Baker Street. And some nonsense about me having been there on the night in question. That is the accusation, indeed. This really is beyond a joke, you know. Very well. Without further delay, the court will hear your testimony now, Mr. Graydon. You will respond to the accusation made against you under oath. Now, please. Gladly, my lord. Gladly. Yeah, you can spare us the dancing. The fancy dancing. Anyway, the accusation. Naturally, I have occasion to make use of pawnbroking services from time to time. But are you seriously suggesting I colluded with these thugs to break into the place on the night of the murder? I have no intention of admitting to such an outrageous accusation, even if certain parties here present claim that my blood was found at the scene. Some Scaramouche detective's homebrewed tincture can hardly be taken as serious evidence. Yeah, but that's not the only evidence we have that you were there, is it? Let me make sure I'm remembering that right. Well, okay, I don't have photo and evidence, so never mind. So, you deny the accusation completely, do you? I must say, I am dismayed. For the highest court in the land to be swayed by this self-professed detective's toy. It was the will of the jury, and our great British justice system demands that the jury's will is upheld. Then it would seem we had the misfortune of a most inept assembly of jurors today. By golly! How long am I expected to be detained here? If, following the defense's cross-examination, your involvement in this matter has not been established, you will be free to leave immediately. Good, then I shall be away in time for afternoon tea. Some small consolation at least. Let us not hold up Mr. Graydon any longer than necessary, counsel. Proceed with the cross-examination. So, we meet again, Mr. Eggert Benedict. Or is it Mr. Graydon? My apologies, you are? Renosuke Naruhodo, defense lawyer. We have met. If you say so. Ashley Graydon, enchanté. So. Ah! I trust we can conclude this quickly. But I'm not holding your flashy hat while we do. Well, just put it down on the test then. Yes, we even met in the very pawnbrokery where the crime took place on the afternoon of the day in question. Though, of course, you introduced yourself by a different name at the time. It was Mr. Eggert Benedict, I believe. Tell me, what made you... The witness is sure to testify about the events that took place that night. He is under no obligation to answer such unrelated questions. You can't be serious! Thank you, because I certainly do not feel inclined to answer such an inappropriate question. So he's going to be evasive, is he? In an effort not to give anything away. This could be tricky. Have you seen these two men before? This pair? No, I don't associate with criminals. Said by a man who introduced himself as Eggert Benedict. I'd like to know who I have to thank for this. Who made this outlandish accusation against me? The young lawyer there in the block. This is a farce. Whose idea was it to permit an outsider to work in a British court anyway? Well, needless to say...
Hold it!
Where were you at around 1 in the morning on the night in question, sir? That is past the hour at which I would normally retire. Certainly. I was not in the company of these rapscallions. You're able to prove that?
Objection!
Listen carefully, my learned Nipponese friend. For you to appear to be under a gross misapprehension on this point. What do you mean? The witness maintains he was not at the scene of the crime. He has no obligation to prove his absence. Does he not need an alibi? If the accusation is that the witness was present at the scene, the obligation lies with you to prove your assertion. You will fulfill that obligation before putting any more unreasonable questions to the witness. A silent victory, Wiggle. Thanks. Let me look through the evidence again.
Hold it!
Blood was found at the scene of the crime. There's no question of that. Mr. Sholm's chemical analysis has positively identified the substance as such. But I am not the only human to have blood running through my veins, am I? How can you be so sure the blood is mine? It could equally be the blood of one of these two miscreants. Every individual's blood has a slightly different composition, it seems. Mr. Sholm's chemical is able to differentiate different blood cells by spell me the science lesson. Who is this Sholm's character, anyway? Oh, I assumed all Londoners would know the name. He's a renowned detective. So, even you are unable to bring yourself to say, great detective. A great detective, you say? Now we're in the realm of fairy tales, aren't we? You got something to say?
Excuse me!
Do you have something to say about that, Mr. Skulkin? Eh, what? Me? No, the Mr. Skulkin next to you. Right, I've had it up to here with this. How many times have I got to tell you? Yes, I know. You're not big bro sulky. He wasn't talking about you either. Mr. Nash Skulkin. Hey, God blimey, Governor! You what? Is it not the case that when Mr. Graydon just spoke, a thought went through your mind? Would you care to share that thought with the court? Eh, me thoughts? I don't have none of them. It must have been him. You what? Mr. Nash Skulkin, answer the question, please. What went through your mind when Mr. Graydon just spoke? Nothing, honest, Gov, nothing. I was just thinking. If he was his arm like that much more, it'd have opened up that wound again, that's all. Excuse me? What wound?
Wait, took the bullet, of course. It was only 2 days ago. It ain't gonna be hit up yet. So I was, well, you know, I was worried for him and... Oh! Hell's bells!
Mr. Graydon, did you hear that?
What?
Your comrade is worried about you, it seems. On account of your injured arm.
My lord. Yes, Mr. Graydon? I have no idea what these two wretches are talking about. Certainly I shouldn't be expected to answer anything in relation to their mindless insinuations.
We know that someone other than the victim was hit by a bullet at the scene of the crime 2 nights ago. And from the height of the bullet hole in the wall, that person was likely hit in the upper arm or thereabouts. Perhaps you'd allow a court official to examine your arm, sir. The left arm that you're currently clasping with your right hand, as if in pain.
No, I refuse.
You have shown no evidence whatsoever that links me to these common thieves.
Accordingly, I am not obliged to permit any such invasion of my privacy. As I've already said, I'm completely uninvolved in all this. I've never had anything to do with a pawnbrokery where this fellow was killed whatsoever. I take offense at the insinuation that I was in any way involved. You claim to have had nothing whatsoever to do with Mr. Windybank's pawnbrokery?
My lord, the defense would like that last statement to be added to Mr. Graydon's formal testimony.
Very well, counsel. Continue with your testimony, Mr. Graydon. The bottom line is, I've never had anything to do with the pawnbroking establishment where the man was killed.
Hold it!
Never had anything to do with it? You forget that I was there, Mr. Graydon, on the very afternoon of the incident.
Obviously, I'm not a complete stranger to the pawnbrokers. I'm currently on the lookout for an armchair to finish my study.
Objection!
No! You were there to redeem an article.
I have no
Is
idea what
that
you're
right?
talking about.
Excuse me!
Do you have something to add, Inspector?
Eh? Come again, sunshine? Eh? Come again, sunshine?
You were there too, in fact, weren't you, Inspector, that afternoon?
Well, yes, I do remember meeting yourself in the pawnbrokers that afternoon. You, your young Japanese assistant, and the accused were all present, as I recall.
And at that time, this witness, Mr. Graydon, was trying to acquire a particular article.
Well, now. I'm afraid I don't remember too clearly.
What? But you must!
I'm not going to lie and pretend I don't remember something that I don't.
What's going on here?
Gregsy showed us a picture before, didn't he? You know, from those cameras that Hurley installed in Windybanks.
Yes, of course.
Indeed, and the gentleman pictured bears a striking resemblance to the witness, I must say.
Exactly, which proves that Mr. Graydon was in the shop on the afternoon in question.
At no point have I denied that fact. I merely entered the shop to peruse the articles on sale and have a word with the broker. Nothing more.
The This makes no sense. I understand why Mr. Graydon might be trying to cover his tracks. But why would Gregson be trying to avoid giving testimony about what happened? That's all he's going to say on the matter, is it?
What do you think, Bruno?
I think he has no intention of telling us anything. He's well aware that the less he says, the less chance he has of giving himself away.
The complete opposite of Hurley, then. He seems to think that the more he says, the better.
Well, at least I managed to prize a little more information from these witnesses' lips. All thanks to the Skulkin brothers.
Yes, they were the key to it, after all.
So he says he had nothing to do with the Windy Banks. Well, we know that's not true.
Perhaps now would be a good time to have a proper look through the court record.
Good idea. You never know what tiny scrap of information could become a valuable weapon. I never pressed this statement, did I?
Hold it!
Don't forget, sir, that Mr. Herlock Sholmes is the most famous detective in the world. And the most famous detective in the world tells the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, Oh no, I can't think how to answer that. I once saw the world's most famous swindler thrown into jail. Or, I'm sorry, I once saw the world's most famous swindler thrown into jail. He allegedly told the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but, which turned out to be a pack of lies. Quite. Now, as you are no doubt aware, the Central Communication Station is the heart of this country's information network. My work there is of paramount importance, and you have kept me from it for long enough already. So let's review the statements at face value just for clarity's sake. Alright? Okay, well, I think the first statement is obvious and can't be disproven, right? Disgaea 6 demo. Oh, okay. Okay, next one. Where can I get that demo from, Reen? Like, is it on PlayStation Store, Steam? Either one? I know there's probably one on the Switch also, but just want to know what all my options are. And welcome to stream, Reen. How you doing tonight? PSN? Okay. I'll try to get that going tonight then. The download, I mean. Next statement? Okay. Next statement. Okay, next one. Now, obviously, this is BS. The question is, how do I prove it? The only thing that came to mind was the music disc, but again, the judge already said, what did he go there for? He went to pick up the coat, which had this in it. Well, which had this in it. This music box disc. Now, as we know, there is a smear of blood on it that was proven to match the one from the pawnbrokery. This one. But the judge already said he can't really accept these as evidence. How confident are you in the disc being the answer? Truthfully, pretty confident. It's the only thing here that even remotely matches. And of course, besides the bloodstain, there's this. Okay, let me try to get it right side up here. Come on. There we go. Although, again, we couldn't prove that he has anything to do with that for that either, but Yeah, like I said, it's the only real evidence I can find. Well, if you ignore the blood which tied him to the scene of the crime, is the disc still reason for him to be there? Yeah, it is. Okay. Still have all my guesses for now, so might as well go for it.
Objection!
Have you ever seen this disc before, Mr. Graydon? Why? Is it supposed to mean something? This disc was, until the day of his murder, in the pawn in Mr. Windibank's shop. It was redeemed by the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, that afternoon. However, somebody mysteriously appeared to try to take it from her. And that somebody was you, of course. Wasn't it, Mr. Graydon? As I have reiterated numerous times now, you are mistaken. That was not me. With the photo that already proves you were there that day. Sure. Although while it's obvious he was there that day, the question I have is how does that photo prove it? Because all it gives is a time of day. It doesn't have a date on it. Anyway. Actually, let me check something. Yeah, there's no way to see what the date is, just the time. Anyway, I've never seen that disc before in my life. It may have escaped your notice, but there is a small smear of blood on the disc. Ah, yes, resulting from an abrasion of the thumb, perhaps. That's right. The surface of the disc is covered in hundreds of tiny metal bumps. In the skirmish to acquire the disc, the thumb of the person who tried to take it suffered minor lacerations. So, while the disc bears the remnants of that skirmish in the form of the smear of blood, the thumb of the person in question must bear the remnants also, in the form of a scratch. Good gracious, indeed it must! Mr. Graydon. You refused to allow a court officer to examine your arm before. Presumably all the pictures were within a 24-hour period or so. The pawnbroker likely would have thrown away the pictures in the morning had he not died. Oh, that's true. Are you now going to refuse to allow us to examine your thumb? Because I have no doubt that it bears a small scratch consistent with a smear of blood on this disc. Well, well. It would seem I underestimated you. What? What is the meaning of this? So you admit it now? You admit you have a scratch on your thumb from when you attempted to take the disc from the defendant? Order! Order! Well, Mr. Graydon? It would appear there has been something of a misunderstanding here. I did not attempt to take the disc, as you put it. No, quite the reverse. What are you trying to say? It's really quite simple, you see. The disc was mine from the outset. Uh-huh. Is there some crime in taking an item that you own out of pawn? What? It would seem, Mr. Graydon, that in this piece of evidence, my learned friend has established a link between yourself and the incident. Accordingly, you will tell the court everything you know about this disc now. As you wish. Though I'm quite sure it has nothing whatsoever to do with the pawnbroker's murder. We'll see. There's a note on the disc saying for McGilded, but the item belongs to me. The The redemption ticket was stolen from me by the accused, that filthy gutterling, on the day in question. I proceeded at once to the shop in order to explain my situation and redeem my article. In the end, of course, the disc was taken by the police. In other words, I had absolutely no reason to break into the shop later that night. Did I hear you correctly, sir? McGilded, you say, the famous London philanthropist? Who perished in this very courtroom 2 months ago after being acquitted of a distinctly messy murder? Yes, my lord, the one and the same. Good lord! Mr. Graydon! Are you saying that Mr. McGilded and yourself were acquainted? Yes, that's correct. Horror! Well, I certainly didn't expect to hear that name uttered here in my courtroom again. According to what Gina told us, this disc was placed in the pond on that fateful night 2 months ago. McGilded himself gave instructions to deposit it at Windybanks.
It's funny that Mr. Graydon here is claiming that this belongs to him then, isn't it?
In all likelihood, he's lying. So he appeared that afternoon at Windybanks in order to get his hands on McGilded's disc for some reason. Counsel, you will commence your cross-examination, please.
Hold it!
Would you care to explain how this belongs to you? As you will observe, a communications officer such as myself commands a fine salary. Do they? I mean, I kinda got the vibe that while he dresses nicely, it was kind of a... I'm not gonna say a low-class job, but... Although I guess if this wasn't true, juror number 5 would argue it, so... You are certainly exquisitely dressed, sir. So you see, I have little need to make use of the services provided by the pawnbrokery trade. However, I did once find myself in difficulties having misplaced my purse whilst on an errand. Which is why I pawned my fine black overcoat to the broker in question. You claim that was your overcoat? Obviously, and in my haste I clean forgot that the music box disc was in its pocket. And yet there is a note on it that reads, "For McGilded." I am a collector of rare and unusual music box music. I first met Mr. McGilded at a gentleman's club in the city, and was interested to discover... Is that the same thing as what a gentleman's club is now, or was it something different back then? We already proved it wasn't his coat, right? That's correct, because it was too small for him. At I know that's what I just asked is an important question, but I'm kind of curious. Sort of not. Okay, fair enough. And was it just to discover that he shared my penchant in that area? So, the disc in question, it's a pre-production sample. I promised to let Mr. McGilded hear it. But then you forgot that it was in a pocket of the overcoat you were forced to pawn. Yes, exactly.
Gina didn't mention any of that in her testimony 2 months ago, did she?
No, because McGilded had threatened her to keep her mouth shut. Which means that if we dig too deeply here, it's going to expose Gina's perjury.
Oh dear. This is complicated, isn't it?
Let's leave it alone for the time being. Not gonna present it yet, I'm just looking at something. A redemption ticket issued from the pawn. So you're saying that Miss Lestrade lifted the ticket from your pocket or bag? That's right. Despite being mindful of danger when walking in the insalubrious areas her kind frequent.
Objection!
Miss Lestrade did no such thing. Well, of course she would take that stance, but the girl is a regular offender. You came to the pawnbrokery that day prepared with all the information you needed to identify the defendant. You were looking for her. That's what brought you to Windybanks. To get your hands on Mr. McGilded's disc.
Objection!
My learned friend is a veritable font of nonsense. Nonsense? I concur with the prosecution. Counsel, you will refrain from conjecturing in this way. Is that clear? Yes, my lord. Then I will continue with my testimony, for what possible use it can be.
Hold it!
Had you ever been to Windybanks before? Only once, for the purposes of pawning something. But like many, I enjoy browsing in such establishments. So when you noticed that the pickpocket had taken your ticket, you chased after her. Is that correct? Yes, that's right. I didn't notice at first, of course. Such is the art of the pick purse. But when I did, I headed to the pawnbrokery at once, in order to reclaim my coat before the thief could. I was merely trying to recover what was rightfully mine in the first place. Ah! So he likes because he knows we have no evidence to contradict him on this.
Hold it!
Yes, it was taken by Inspector Gregson here, wasn't it? That's right. This was the very man. Apparently, the police are collecting anything that has a connection
Is
to
that
the
right?
Gilded as evidence.
Excuse me!
Is something wrong, Inspector? Well, what do you mean? The last remark Mr. Graydon made in his testimony seemed to trouble you in some way. No, it didn't. It's nothing. Leave it alone. Let me ask you this, Inspector. Why is Scotland Yard gathering Mr. McGillicud's possessions? I can't tell you something like that, Sunshine! What is it, Inspector? Investigative secrets? Yes, exactly. You should know all about that. Magnus McGillicud, who died so unexpectedly after his trial 2 months ago. A man renowned throughout the capital for his great contributions to public life. Yet he had a dark side too. Where are you going with this, Van? Where are you going with this, Van Zix? I suppose the police are dealing with the aftermath of his nefarious activities, are they? That's enough! Coppers like me have duties to carry out that we're not at liberty to talk about. That's all you need to know. Duties conferred by Lord Stoneheart, I presume. The Lord Chief Justice appears to have great faith in you, Inspector. The bottom line is, if you want to get more out of me, you're gonna need Lord Strongheart's paw print first. What's all this about? It's like there's something going on between Gregson and Lord Von Zeeks here. Well, it would appear that the Inspector has revealed all he is at liberty to reveal. Mr. Graydon, let us return to your testimony. Gladly, my lord.
Hold it!
But perhaps you'd seen something of value among the forfeited items? No, not at all. Oh. A valuer was brought in by the police to assess everything in the shop. Without exception, every article on the shelves was common or garden bric-a-brac. In that case, it's clear that you broke into the shop later that day in order to recover Mr. McGillicud's disc. Have you not been listening, man? Even if I had wanted to recover the disc, you may recall that it had been seized by the police that afternoon. It was no more in the shop that night than as I keep saying, I simply had no reason to break in. So there was nothing of McGillicud's left in the shop that night. Nothing this man might have been after. I wonder if that's really true. Mr. Winnebank appears to have used the back of this. He's written it very neatly, but still, perhaps he ran out of papers, so had to use anything he had to hand. Well, okay.
Bruno, if you have some evidence, then let him have it. I'm dying to see that irritatingly assured expression of his crumble.
McGillicud slipped the disc into his coat pocket and had it deposited at Windybank's. Then, when he realized he was going to be arrested on suspicion of the omnibus murder, he threatened Gina and forced her to take the redemption ticket.
There's no doubt about it. That witness is lying through his pearly white teeth.
The police were obviously after anything left behind by McGillicud as well. That's why Inspector Gregson ended up taking the disc into custody that day.
But Gregson's been being very strange about all this.
There must be a reason for that, I'm sure. I just don't know what it is. For now, I need to focus on exposing the fact that Mr. Graydon is lying in his testimony. February 13th. One small box. Shoot, that wasn't what I meant to do. No. Okay, yeah, I already checked that one. Yeah, I'm not sure what to do here. We know this is a lie, but how to prove it? Redemption ticket was stolen. I proceeded once to the shop in order to explain the situation and redeem my article. This part is actually pretty hard. Oh, okay. Good to know. Good to know I'm not just being dumb again. The only thing I keep thinking about is this. Because of the blood stain that it was Mr. Mason's blood. But I don't know how I would pin it to anything he has to say. Or at least not anything he's saying right this moment. Well, save your game first before you go on hunches. Yeah, well, like I said, I don't even know what I would... Let's see, in other words, I have absolutely no reason to break into the shop later that night. But yeah, if I even come up with a slight idea of what to do, yeah, I'll save first. Let's see. In the end, of course, I proceeded once to the shop in order to explain my situation and redeem my article. The redemption ticket was stolen from me by the accused, that filthy gutterling, on the day in question. Note on the disc.
From McGilded. That's the man you defended in court a couple of months ago, isn't it, Reno?
Yes, or rather mistakenly defended.
I wonder what his name is doing on the back of this disc.
That's a question I'd love to know the answer to myself. I guess that is all it says, is for McGilded. It's not a note or anything. Stolen. Actually, let me press this thing one time to see what he said in it.
Hold it!
So you're saying that Miss Lestrade lifted the ticket from your...
Objection! Objection!
As Reen pointed out earlier, we already proved the coat didn't belong to him. But obviously we can't prove that here. Because we don't even have the coat, even if it would match any of these statements. Yeah, Gina, what did you do with that coat? Or did the police take it as evidence too? I can't remember. Well, I don't look for this to be it, but...
Objection!
Yep, didn't think so. Okay, there was another statement that I kind of felt this could go with. Proceed at once. In the end, of course, the disc was taken by the police. In other words, I had absolutely no reason to break into the shop later that same night. No, I don't think it would go with this statement. Let's see. Okay, someone remind me about this box. So I should ask, can you look at the evidence you just submitted? The evidence yeah, I can. I don't know if I'll find anything new about it. I've already looked at this, and it was just the same old thing. It was but this I have not looked at recently. It was blood this stain, like we suspected.
That's right. Hurley's wonderful concoctions soon proved that.
I don't suppose. Gina couldn't have been wearing leather gloves that night, could she?
Jenny would never wear gloves. She's a pickpocket. She relies on being able to feel with her fingertips.
I could be wrong, but I think I'm being told off. Does it flip? I don't remember. Yeah, it has the picture of the cat on the back, just like the other one. I'll show you in a sec. Oh yeah, so it does. And like I said, the other one has that also, I believe. Yep. So, since you asked about the box... And before you ask, yeah, I already did look at it to see if it gave any information about the box itself, and it doesn't. It is a claim ticket that expired 2 days before the incident. Right. Okay, so that definitely rules out what I was just thinking then. fact, hang on a minute. Okay, it doesn't say when this was deposited. But I still assume... All I can think about was that this was being kept in a box, but I assume Herlock just... I assume that's where the pawnbrokery owner, Mr. Windibanks, put it. Not that the box came with the manuscript. So the box is somewhere on the sales floor. We have no idea what it is or what it does. Oh, okay, yeah, I think I remember what box you're talking about now. Or what is in it. Right. Okay. Well, if this ends up not being right, I might go ahead and reload my save. I'll have to see where it goes.
Objection!
This disc was deposited at Windibanks on Magnus McGilda's instructions. You knew that, and you went there with the intention of obtaining it for yourself.
Objection!
Conjecture again. In any case, the disc was taken into custody by the police that afternoon. You wanted to look for it aggressively, but you got Susato takedown. Oh, thanks a lot, Susato. Anyway, the witness had no reason to visit the pawnbrokery again that night.
Objection!
Sorry, my learned friend, but that's not true. Ooh. Okay, Renosuke getting a little sassy here. What? Mr. McGilded had another article in pawn at Windibanks. Okay. As this second pawnbroker's ticket proves. Ugh. There were 2 articles belonging to Mr. McGilded at Windibanks pawnbrokery, and the reason you broke into the shop that night was to recover the second one. Together with your 2 accomplices, the Skulkin brothers. Ugh! So this is the second ticket, is it? What had the men deposited? The article description reads, 1 small box. A rather vague description, it seems to me. Are you suggesting that I broke into the pawnbrokery with these clowns in order to steal some trinket box? You realize the way they keep glancing away from you, not so subtly, pretty much gives away that you did. I believe there are adequate grounds to suspect that you did. This is absurd. Why on earth would I do such a thing? Once the article had been forfeited, I could simply walk into the shop and purchase it. There would be absolutely no need for me to resort to theft. That's a good point. Indeed, the witness makes a solid argument.
So that means that for some reason, this Graydon fella needed a small box that very night, does it?
Objection!
It's time to put an end to this nonsense, my lord. Could you be a little less cryptic, Lord Von Zeeks? I do hate to ruin my learned friend's argument, but the truth is quite incontrovertible. On the night in question, no small box was taken from Windibank's pawnbrokery. And rest assured, the prosecution can prove it. Oh joy. What? Good gracious! Inspector, show the photographic prints to the court, if you please. Yes, sir. What prints? These prints were taken from one of the These prints were taken from one of the detective's security cameras.
Ah, are these red-handed recorders again?
As previously explained, using this plan of the shop layout.
The victim's establishment was furnished with automatic cameras in 2 locations. One was set to capture the counter where Mr. Windybank received his customers, and the other was set to capture the shelves on which articles were placed for sale once forfeited. According to the information on this ticket, the gilded small box had been forfeited already. 2 days before the incident, at 9 PM on April 13th to be precise. Which means it would have been on the shelves of forfeited items in the shop front. Now, what I have here is a print taken by one of the cameras about 2 hours before the incident. That's at 11 PM on April 15th. The victim certainly had a very full shop, it would appear. And then here, we have another print. This one was taken about 2 hours after the incident. What was the time on the first one? I should have paid more attention. Maybe I'll get a chance to look at them again. Well, let me ask you something. Well, yeah, it says about 2 hours, but maybe not exactly 2 hours. Well, no, I guess it would have to be, because of the interval of the times. Okay, never mind. It was probably at midnight then. In this case, what do you think about when you see 2 very similar photos? Right, well, probably gonna have to use this thing, but yeah, it's just like with the cat photos. So I see, so we have 2 pictures to compare. I see, so we have 2 pictures to compare. Oh no, 11 PM. That ain't 2 hours. What the fudge is he talking about? Hold up a minute. No. This one was taken about 2 hours after the incident. Gregson? Can you not do math? Or did I just catch you in a very blatant lie? Anyway, let me kinda take a look at these. I'm kind of trying to spot the difference at the moment, which, yeah, I am not seeing any. Not any obvious ones, rather. Though I must say that placing them side by side leaves me cold. Dear me, that's starting to make my head ache. Obviously, at Scotland Yard, we consider theft as one possible motive in this case. We explored the possibility that something had been taken in addition to the victim's life. So your men have already compared these 2 prints thoroughly, Inspector? Yes, sir. We counted every single item in each of these 2 photographic prints. And the Yard's conclusion is that exactly the same number are present in both. In other words, nothing was taken from the pawnbroker night in question. And my learned friend's assertion is nothing more than a hopeful fantasy. The only problem is we don't know what the box in question looks like, do we? Ugh! I don't believe it. If I
could have just shown that he'd stolen McGilda's pawn box. I might have been able to break him down at last. Okay, dude, yeah, you're on... Oh, gosh, dang it. Anyway.
You know what, Reno? I've been thinking. I wonder if these two photographs really are exactly the same.
I'm gonna assume the fact that the inspector got the time difference wrong isn't really gonna play into this. I mean, I'll definitely keep it in mind, but offhand, that seems to be what it's playing like. What? So, counsel, in light of the evidence put forward by the prosecution, what is your position? Okay, I'll be right back. I just need to go grab another bottle of water, so I'll be back shortly. Okay, I'm back, and welcome to stream, Dragoon. How you doing tonight? And Dragoon says, well, it's official, AEW has suspended Jeff Hardy. But yeah, like I said, I just need to go get a bottle of water. I knew I was going to need it before I was done with this. I'm good. Picked up Super Mario 3D All-Stars. Nice! Where'd you get it from? Just curious is all. It seems that, in fact, on the night in question, from the victim's establishment. Local shop? That's cool. Do you accept the prosecution's assertion? I don't know. Could there be some hidden discrepancy in these two photographic prints somewhere? I assume this is meant to let me use that thing that lets me see the photos in the machine. Before I give my answer, my lord, I'd like to try something, if I may. Try something? What do you mean, counsel? I'll need to use a certain piece of evidence from the court record to identify the discrepancy. I'm not entirely sure I follow. Which piece of evidence do you intend to use to help you identify a discrepancy between the two prints?
Take that!
I'd like to use this device, my lord, to view the two prints stereoscopically. Oh! Yes, you caught the bug at last. You can't resist it, can you? You got the cross-eyed compulsion. Juror number 3, what a surprise.
Come on, Rito. Let's put the pictures in place and see what this wonderful contraption shows us. There we go. Now, look through the eyepiece.
Oh, hello. I wasn't sure at first, but there is a clear discrepancy between these two prints. Dang, I would not have seen that tiny thing. Hola, mi nombre es Sopita. Oh, okay. I know what that means. I'm just saying so... Can you spot the difference? Yeah, that little box? Is that a box there? Let me take a look at the pictures separately again. Oh, I can't. Darn it! Okay, fine. What? You must identify the location in question for the court, counsel. Indicate the precise location of the discrepancy of which you speak.
Sí, muy bueno.
Take that!
Granted, these two prints are almost identical. However, there is one minor discrepancy between them. What? I cannot keep his accent straight. What? Oh, okay, now I see it. When you view the two pictures stereoscopically, a single area stands out as being different. The location of this small box. Look me, Flint. Unbelievable!
Oh no, it's Senior Vampire. Let's shout vampire, no vamping.
By Jove! Is this the first? I don't remember seeing him do this before. The judge. Okay, enough Dora jokes. Oh, okay, I was wondering if that's what you're referencing, because I've only seen bits and pieces of Dora the Explorer, I'm gonna be honest. No, it was fun though. But yeah, have we seen the judge try to do this before? Cause I don't remember it, and he definitely looks silly. Yeah, when Jeff Hardy got arrested, he was supposed to work a triple threat ladder match tomorrow against the Young Bucks in Jurassic Express and in Mexico for Triple Mania. Oh, okay. By Jove, you're right. How extraordinary. What this tells us is very simple. Mr. McGilded's small box was indeed not stolen from Windybanks on the night in question. However, there can be no doubt that somebody picked up this particular box and then returned it to its place on the shelves. Are you suggesting that the small box originally deposited by Mr. McGilded is in fact... Yes, the very same small box I just identified in those photographic prints.
Objection!
Yes, this was supposed to be his last run before retirement. Now with 3 arrests in 4 years, he's done. Yeah. That is unfortunate. Mindless guesswork. What if it was? So a box was moved on a shelf. Nothing was stolen. Which means quite simply that nothing has changed. So it looks like it's on Brother Matt to continue the legacy. That may be true, but... Alright, McGilded's box wasn't stolen then. But doesn't the fact that it was moved like that change things? I want to say it changes everything, but let me save before I actually do that. I guess so, says Dragoon about... Well, anyway, never mind. I'm sorry. Let's see. 'Cause... For me, it means there was something in it, only problem is I have no way of knowing, let alone proving, what that was. I think it's time for Matt 2.0. Oh, okay. So yeah, if I end up being wrong and it makes me lose the case or whatever, then I'll just reload from there. I believe this changes everything about the case. How can that possibly be? The crucial point is the fact that what was moved was a small box. In other words, we have to consider what might have been inside that box. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting that we need to examine that box as soon as possible. A vital piece of evidence is sitting on the shelves of Windybanks as we speak.
Objection!
That won't be necessary. Some little box belonging to a man who died 2 months ago can't possibly be relevant to this case, to this trial. Maybe if there was more of a distance apart between that and the coat, yeah, but 2 days? The court does not uphold your objection, Lord Von Zeeks. Thank you. Bailiff, arrange for an officer to go to Baker Street at once. Obtain the small box in question, and bring it back here for further examination. You know, I'm kind of liking this judge. A lot more than the one in Phoenix right, that's for sure. We should have a report within half an hour. Okay. I think perhaps we should recess for a short while until the evidence is brought forth. Oh.
To be hoodwinked by such a farce. Humph, disappointing.
I beg your pardon, Lord Von Zeeks? See, he's not having it. This judge is not having it.
This is nothing but a smokescreen. A Nippon specialty, it would seem.
What are you trying to say?
My learned friend has persisted with the same line of reasoning from the very beginning.
I like the modern judge's inexplicably Canadian brother. That's true. He kinda didn't take any crap either, did he? At least as well as I can remember.
That this witness's intent was to steal an article belonging to Mr. McGilded from the pawnbrokery. Yet common sense tells us that none of the articles have value enough to be worth stealing in the first place.
Exactly. It would be beyond absurd to break into a place for the purpose of stealing such commonplace property. Well, yeah, you're right. That's why Renosuke and I thought of the fact that there was something in the box that might be more valuable.
If your lordship recalls, Mr. McGilded perished 2 months ago, immediately after the conclusion of his trial. A trial in which he was found not guilty. A trial in which it was established he was the upstanding member of society his reputation implied in fact. So I propose a toast to my learned friend and his most insightful defense.
The articles this upstanding member of society pawned were entirely ordinary. A black overcoat that just happened to have a music box disc in one of its pockets, and a small box. I assure you, I wouldn't accept even if the man tried to make a gift of such things to me.
You know, that does make rather a lot of sense.
It's not as if it was gold or jewels, is it? Though goodness knows Mr. McGill is rich enough. But you can't deposit cash at a pawnbrokery, I'm quite certain of that. The prosecution's argument is undeniably compelling.
It is incumbent on the defense now to bolster its argument. To explain what possible significance these commonplace articles pawned by this fine citizen could have.
Well, counsel, is your argument in fact demonstrable? Are you able to show proof that the disc or the box are in any tangible way related to this case? Well,
What's the matter, Reno? We know that they're related, don't we? They're both vital pieces of evidence.
yes, of course. You and I both know that. We know McGilded's true character, and we know the disc is significant, even if we don't know why. But if we explain all that to the court at this point, we'll have to acknowledge that McGilded's acquittal 2 months ago was a mistake. That the defense's argument was flawed, based on false information.
Oh no!
And that would mean, admitting that Gina committed perjury.
But Jenny...
Could it be that Von Zeeks knows? Is that why he's doing this now? Because he anticipated everything?
But maybe... this could be a great opportunity for us.
Sorry? What do you mean, Iris?
Well, what is it that you always say, Reno? Sooner or later, the truth comes out. Every time.
Alright. The exact significance of the things that McGilda deposited with Mr. Windibank is something that only Gina can explain to the court. But if I put her on the stand to testify about that, it could critically damage our chances of winning this case. What's the right thing to do here?
I mean, there is the fact that Gina's lie about... oh gosh, dang it. Okay, I understand what the problem is. We're hesitant to put Gina on... I don't know what figure of speech I'm thinking of. We're not willing to throw Gina under the bus like this, because it could end up with her going to prison for perjury. But at the same time, it might be the only way to prove our case this time. But if we want to even have the possibility of searching these items, I guess we'd have to get her to testify. Well, once again, I'm going to save just to be safe, but yeah, I think that's what we're going to have to do. I don't see we have any other option. Sorry, Gina. My lord, the defense would like to make a proposal. Oh, what proposal, counsel? While the court awaits the arrival of Mr. McGilda's small box, I would like to call the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, to the witness stand. The defendant? To what end? It's to do with the various articles deposited at at Windybanks by Mr. McGilda, my lord. Miss Lestrade has information relating to them. I believe it would be beneficial for the court to hear what she has to say. It will prove the significance of the articles in question once and for all. Well, things are becoming interesting. I presume you've considered the implication of the testimony you're proposing. In particular, the impact it will have on the accused standing, and indeed their own. I have. Lord Von Zeeks, would you care to explain that last remark? The prosecution accepts the defense's proposal. I move to interrupt the cross-examination of the current witness and hear from the accused herself. Very well, if you have no objection. So, the court will now hear the testimony of the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. Your witnesses currently in the stand may step down until further notice. Then I shall bid you good day. Wait. You, sir, shall remain in the stand while Miss Lestrade testifies. Yeah, you're not getting out of it that easily, buddy. As you wish. Alright then, Gina. It's time. I know this will be hard, but please, put your faith in me here. Good luck, Reno.
Yep. Let's hope this goes well. The articles that Mr. McGilden had deposited in Windy Bank's pawnbrokery are intimately related with the omnibus case, the trial of which was heard in this courtroom 2 months ago. Yes, and I remember this young lady being brought before me in that trial as well. That's right, my lord. Her testimony helped to establish the innocence of the defendant, Mr. McGilden.
The omnibus kiss was intriguing, to say the least. And now, here we are again. The same players in a trial, facing each other once more. A twist of fate, perhaps, my Nipponese friend.
Allow me to recap the events of 2 months ago. An old brickmaker was stabbed to death on an omnibus running along London's winter streets. Apart from the victim, there was only one other person in the carriage, Mr. McGilden. Naturally, he was the prime suspect for the murder. But as the trial progressed, another possibility emerged. That the murder in fact took place above the defendant's head on the roof deck, with the body then being dropped through the skylight into the carriage below. It was Miss Lestrade whose testimony brought that possibility to light. At the time of the incident, Miss Lestrade was concealed under a seat in the carriage, hoping to pick the pockets of unsuspecting passengers. Then, immediately after the trial, having been acquitted of the murder, Mr. McGilden died in this very courtroom, in the most extraordinary of circumstances.
A mystery that remains unsolved even now, 2 months on. As indeed does the omnibus murder itself.
Be that as it may, I recall neither the disc nor this small box being mentioned in the course of those proceedings. Miss Lestrade. Would you tell the court now, please? What really happened in the omnibus 2 months ago, I mean.
I don't know what you mean. I already said all of what I know.
And what about everything you told us yesterday from inside your prison cell? Please, Miss Lestrade, this is extremely important.
But... Remember, little girl, if it transpires that you willfully held information in the trial 2 months ago, the Home Office will seek to prosecute you for perjury. And naturally, you will lose all credibility as a witness. Although, let's face facts, you have little credibility to lose.
Jenny, don't listen to him! Please, you have to trust Reno now. Iris? We're on your side. Alright then. I'll talk. It's the right choice, Sheena.
Well, it would seem that my learned friend is hell-bent on bringing the entire courtroom down about his ears. So be it.
I must confess that I'm struggling to understand what on earth is happening here. However, it would appear that Mr. McGilden's pawned articles, in that extraordinary case of the omnibus, harbor secrets of which we have been hitherto unaware. So, Miss Lestrade, you will now give your testimony before the court about the events of 2 months ago. Someone let me know if I'm pronouncing Gina's last name wrong. That's just how I've always pronounced it, for some reason. You will reveal the truth, a commodity sorely lacking in your original statements. This is it, then. Everything's going to come out. Like Von Zeke said, this could bring the whole courtroom down about my ears, but as a lawyer, I'm prepared to take that risk.
The real truth of the omnibus case. 2 days that Big Maker Cove was in the cabin of the omnibus the whole time. When the Irishman dragged me out from under the seat, I saw that disc on the floor. All of a sudden, I heard a scream from over me head, and that pair on the roof deck went off to call the slops. That's when Miguel did slip the driver some tin to do a run to the pawn shop roundabout. He threatened me not to snitch, not to say nothing to no one about what I'd seen or heard.
Good grief, this is outrageous! What you've just told the court bears almost no resemblance to your testimony 2 months ago!
As you say, my lord.
Then there's every chance I may have adjudicated an error in McGilded's trial. It sounds very much to me as if the man deliberately deceived this court in an effort to cover up the most wicked of schemes.
Without doubt, your lordship is correct. A great injustice was done in this courtroom 2 months ago. The actions of the accused in that trial, of this witness, and of my learned friend are now entirely inexcusable.
I don't believe it. The whole trial was a farce. It was all lies. That McGilded fellow was brought into the court, just like that pickpocket. Don't forget that lawyer from the east. They were all in on it together.
You're wrong, the lot of ya! Mr. Naruto, the lawyer there, he didn't know nothing about it.
Humbug!
I don't think so. I really expected to believe that.
It really stitched everyone up.
The lies have to stop! Stop!
Yes, the defense made a terrible error of judgment. I intend to take full responsibility and suffer whatever consequences are deemed appropriate. However, it's imperative that the court allows the witness to elaborate on her testimony, because the true significance of McGilded's pawned articles must be brought to light.
Very well, my learned student friend. Given the depths of calamity you have just plunged yourself into, this may well be worth hearing. Words fail me. This situation is utterly deplorable. Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, my lord. I will decide upon your fate following the conclusion of this trial. Of course, my lord. Blimey, Mr. Naruto.
Now, counsel, proceed with the cross-examination.
Hold it!
And you were hiding in the cabin at the time as well, weren't you, Miss Lestrade? If I remember rightly, in the storage compartment underneath one of the seats?
Yeah, that's right. It's pitch black under there, so you can't see nothing at all.
Now, in your testimony 2 months ago, I feel certain that you claimed Mr. McGilded was the sole passenger, did you not?
False testimony, my lord. That's what he told me. That's what he told me I had to say.
But it's important that you tell us the truth now. Were Mr. McGilded and the victim acquaintances?
I don't know. But I did hear him talking a lot.
What were they talking about?
Well, I couldn't hear too well. But if I had to say, I think it was about money or something. They kept talking about buying and not buying.
Perhaps business dealings of some kind.
Well, anyway, they got louder and louder. It started to sound like a proper fight. I was pretty scared by then. I hardly dared to breathe, and then all of a sudden, I heard a noise like someone keeling over on the floor. It was blooming loud and all.
And I believe you let out an involuntary scream?
Yeah, that's what gave me away.
Hold it!
Was the disc you saw this disc?
Yeah, I reckon it probably was. It was right next to the cove line on the floor.
Could this disc have belonged to the victim, perhaps?
I don't know, but Miguel had picked it up pretty smartish. And then he sat the cove with a knife in his belly up on the seat.
What did he say to you at that time?
He told me not to say a word about what I'd seen or heard to no one. About the disc and all. I was dead scared. The way he was looking at me, I thought, if I didn't go along with it, I'd get stuck with that knife too. Then he started asking me a load of questions. Like what my name was, and where I lived and not. He asked me about being a diver too.
But after a while, what had happened in the carriage was noticed?
Yeah, that's right. First there was a kind of rapping noise.
Hold it!
There were two gentlemen occupying the seats on the roof deck, I believe.
That's right.
They must have looked down through the skylight and noticed the... Oh,
They must have looked down through the skylight and noticed the cove with the knife in his guts. When I screamed, the driver pulled up the horses and McGilded got me out of sight.
out of sight? Where?
Back under the seat where I started off. Once the carriage came to an halt, the two coals from the roof ran up to fetch the slops. If they immediately left to fetch the police, it would appear they were entirely unrelated to the incident.
So that left McGilded, the driver, and you still at the scene.
Yeah, only the driver didn't know I was there because I was under the seat. I heard the cabin door open and a voice from outside.
The driver, yes. He also testified in the trial, I believe. A fellow who went by the name of Beppo, if memory serves. What did McGilded and the driver say to each other?
I don't know what happened and stuff like that mainly.
Hold it!
That pawn shop obviously being Windy Banks on Baker Street. Just a moment, counsel! Do you mean to tell me that the driver gave false testimony in that trial as well?
Perhaps the explosion to the pawnbrokery slipped his mind when he was in a stand.
Indeed, Lord Von Zeeks.
McGilded took off his coat and gave it to the driver. He folded it up, all careful-like, before handing it over. When I saw him do that, I remember thinking, that coat and what's in it's gotta be worth a few bob.
Yes, Sheena was sure the disc must be worth more than Mr. Windybank was suggesting, wasn't she? I remember her quibbling with him over the price that afternoon at the pawnbrokery.
The driver looked pretty happy when McGilded flashed some brass in his face. He went off running like a lick, running off at a lick. Then the box hunter called to me and told me to come out from the drag's cabin.
Hold it!
Threaten you how, exactly?
told me I'd only be able to scupper if I did exactly what he said.
Which included giving false testimony in court 2 months ago.
Yeah, that's it. And there's one other thing you said.
Which was?
He told me I'd have to hang on to the ticket from the pawn shop and make sure not to lose it.
The ticket? Well, I'd never.
Said that if he didn't show up to get the ticket off me before 2 months passed, I had to go to the pawn shop and pay the money to keep it in log, to stop it being forfeited. He left me with some brass to pay for it.
Really? Why on earth would Mr. McGilden have done such a thing? Deposited his overcoat with a pawnbroker before the arrival of the police? It makes no sense at all. There would seem to be only one logical explanation, my lord. What McGilden had the driver deposit at Windybanks was something he didn't want the police to see. Something very important that he needed to hide at all costs.
Anyway, after that, he let me go. So I laid there before the coppers showed up.
Well done, Gina. It can't have been easy to tell the truth like that.
Gina's really put her faith in you, you know?
Yes, and to thank her, she'll have to face a charge of perjury once this trial's over. So I need to use the time we have now to get as much information out of her as possible.
It's time to really go for it. Press on every statement.
I suppose I should.
Oh, and another thing.
What's that?
Take a look at those two. Isn't it strange that they've been whispering to each other the entire time?
Yes, that is strange. Looks like they're having a secret discussion about something. I'm not sure I'm completely comfortable with that. I wonder if there's anything I can do about it. Oh wait, I need to press her on statements again, don't I? To be able to do that. Okay, hang on a minute.
Hold it!
Question is, which one should I pursue? The inspector or... Okay, I've already forgotten his real name, so Benedict. You know what? Let's go with the inspector.
Excuse me.
Is there something you'd like to share with the court, Inspector Gregson and Mr. Graydon? Inspector! Mr. Graydon! What? Blimey, you tried to give me a heart attack? You have been whispering to each other for quite some time now. Tell us, what is the discussion about? Discussion with this fella? Pull the other one, Sunshine! Do you think I got anything to talk about with a shady gent like this? And I have nothing to say to this uncouth detective after he deprived me of that dish that was rightfully mine. But they've clearly been talking the entire time I've been cross-examining Gina. It's as if they've been negotiating. Thank you, Miss Lestrade. Thank you, counsel. I've heard enough. I believe we now have reasonable understanding of what actually transpired on the omnibus. It would appear on that night 2 months ago, a negotiation was taking place on the omnibus. A negotiation concerning this disc. However, matters did not run smoothly. When the parties involved began to quarrel over price, McGilden took what he wanted by force, at the expense of the other man's life. Which proves my point. The disc is clearly extremely valuable in some way. Although I don't understand why as yet. And 2
days ago, precisely 2 months after the omnibus incident. McGilden's coat and its contents were due to be forfeited. I didn't know what I should do with the ticket. I mean, the cove died right before his child, or right after his child. I knew that. So you decided you would try to claim the articles on your own. Well, why not? They were only gonna be forfeited. Why shouldn't I have got them? Anyway, you can't blame me for thinking about it. Thinking it's no kind.
Mrs. Strahd, it would appear Mr. McGilded was prepared to kill in order to take possession of this disc. Do you know why that would be?
Eh? I ain't got a clue. But I reckon it must be worth a fair bit of brass. He was probably gonna sell it.
I don't know about that.
And you can't blame me for thinking that. Thinking it's no crime.
My lord! I assume that was Renosuke. Oh, never mind. The evidence your lordship requested has been located and is ready for the court's inspection, sir! The mysterious little box deposited by McGilda 2 months ago. There's no doubt in my mind that it's a key piece in this far-reaching puzzle. Okay, well, that's the end of this part of the trial. Went a lot more smoothly for me than it did than the last one did. Okay, so yeah. It's definitely getting good now. Alright, so this is where I'm going to end this stream for the night. So I hope you enjoyed it. As always, you can follow my YouTube channel link below to see my past streams, as well as my Twitter account to be notified when I go live or for other announcements. And I'll be back tomorrow to continue playing the Legend of Heroes Trails in the Sky. So I hope I'll see you around for that. And if you'll stick around, I'll be dropping a host. Let's see, who we're gonna host tonight. Okay, we're gonna host Luna Topaz, who's playing Genshin Impact. So I hope you'll stick around for that. And I hope y'all have a great night. I will see you tomorrow. Take care, everyone. Bye.